Jonah chapter 4, second part. We're starting in verse 9 of chapter 4. I call this section, Jonah's heart does not equal God's heart. In this instance, Jonah does not have God's heart. But God said to Jonah, do you do well to be angry for the plant? And he said, yes, I do well to be angry enough to die. And the Lord said, you pity the plant for which you did not labor, nor did you make it grow, which came into being in a night and perished in a night. And should not I pity Nineveh, that great city in which there are over more than 120,000 persons who do not know their right hand from their left, and also much cattle? So God makes a comparison here. He says, you're pitying a plant that died. It came up last night, and now just for one day. But see, his wasn't true compassion or pity. It was self-centered. It was, I need the plant for shade, and now it's gone. So he missed it. Jonah cared that the plant died, but not that the people of Nineveh He wanted them to perish. We should not grieve more over a lost thing than over the lost people around us. We should not grieve more over a lost thing than over the lost people around us. There was a song for a while. I don't remember the song, so don't worry. I'm not going to sing it. But it said, the problem we have is we're supposed to be using things and loving people, but we end up sometimes loving things and using people. We have to get that right. We have to get it right. Sometimes we are so caught up in the things we have, we grieve a loss of a thing, including money or something, or a job, more than we do the fact that people are dying around us and going for an eternal hell of suffering. Help. We need to be praying that the Lord gives us his heart for the lost around us. All of us can use more of that, I imagine. We need to keep things in the right place, not just even the lost, and just dealing with people. I've had, like my nephew, when he was in the car accident that totaled my car. Not Gabe, the other nephew who totaled my car, besides Gabe. I have had 2 cars totaled by different nephews. But Joel was the first nephew that did that. And he had only had his license like 2 days. And he went to get drinks. We were at a work day at church, and he went to get sodas. And on his way back, he was in my car that was new, and it started to spill a drink, and he reached over, not knowing. And he reached over to straighten the drink, and he went this way, and then he looked up and overcompensated. And those of you who remember the palm trees along Nason, across from the school up here, he rammed into one of those. He had to be life flighted to Loma Linda. Thank the Lord, he's in good shape now. But he was like, when I got to the car, because they called us, a man saw it, asked him who to call. He called us because his parents were up in Seattle already. They were moving soon. And Mom and Dad and I came. Pastor was there, and Gabe was, but he was like 6. He wasn't a big help. And so I came in to look at him in the car. They had to use the jaws of life to get him out, but he was conscious. And he said, Auntie, I'm so sorry I wrecked your car. And my first words were, Joel, I don't even care. I'm not even thinking about the car. I just want you to be fine. And that's sometimes we just, things, it's just a thing. No matter how costly it is, how valuable it is to you, it's a thing. People, we need to keep that perspective right. People are what matter. And Jonah needed that. So God questions Jonah and reveals a very unloving heart. He even gives him a chance out. a chance to think it over. He says, are you doing well to be angry? Is this a good thing you think you're doing? Yes. He says, I do well to be angry about a dead plant. Mom told me a story once. She went to a nursery and was waiting in line, and this woman had brought in a plant she'd bought there the few weeks before, and she said, it's dying, and I don't know why. And the man looked at it, and he said to her, well, lady, plants are like people. Some of them die. And this was just a plant. And he was grieving. And he said it was right. Know this, though. If God's questioning, it's not for information. If God's starting to ask you things, if you feel God, even as you're listening to a message, you feel a question. If God's asking you, it's not for information. He already knows. Here's the 911. You can't give God information. 411. You can't give God information. You know, I don't think Suzanne knew that we were going to have a cake for her today, so we could surprise her. Note to self, you can't surprise God. He knows everything. So if he's asking you questions, it's not for information. It's for revelation of your own heart. He already knows, but he helps us through his questions reveal. God's questions not for information, but for revelation. That revelation is for us, that we would know what is in our hearts. Because we, as much as it's our own heart, don't always know fully what's in our heart. And God sometimes puts things before us so we know what's in our heart. Joni, we call him Joni. Jonah was happy or angry based on a self-centered focus. What does it do for me? We already talked about his reputation. He didn't like that. I knew you would do this. That's why I didn't want to come here. You were going to make me look bad. And now he's talking about a plant. I don't think he really cares about the plant. I don't think he's that person. I think he's just like, the plant was shading me and now I'm hot. That's why I cursed the worm and missed the plant. Because it's all about him. And if we look at life with that focus, it will change the way we look at life. And if we learn not to look at life with self-focus, it'll change the way we think. A good test of our character is to examine if what makes us happy or angry does the same for God. A good test of our character is to examine if what makes us happy or angry does the same for God. Our goal is that what we rejoice in is what God would rejoice in. And what we have righteous anger about, God would be angry about. What makes us sad would make him sad. What makes us excited would make him excited. That's how we can test. Am I growing into the character of Christ? We're going to study more about that in our very next book that we're going to start when I do this last little section. Did Jonah learn his lesson? Have you ever wondered that? It ends with the word cattle. I just think it's hilarious. I'm sorry. In my laughing, and maybe God would think this is funny too. So it's okay. Because he says, shouldn't I care about all these people? There's over 120,000. They don't know what they're doing. Plus cattle. Some have even said the city is larger than that. That the statement 120,000 who don't know their left from their right are children. Little ones who literally don't know their left from their right, not just young people who haven't been taught. Little ones. And so many more others. And I think God's point is not the exact number. His point to Jonah is, all these people, if you want me to destroy the city, even the little ones and the cattle get destroyed. And that's not the thing to care about. So the question is now, did Jonah learn his lesson? He wrote the book. They attribute the writing of Jonah to Jonah. He wasn't too kind on himself, was he? If you were a biographer and a publisher, and this man brought you their biography and they go, you make yourself look bad in this book. You're aware of that? And Jonah did. And in so doing, he opened his life for everyone to see, faults and all. And he let God have the last word. Cattle. The last word, my grandma, some of you remember, the last word she said to my dad. He was going to work. She was staying at our house. She died later that day, but when he came in, he said, "I'm going to work, Mom. I'll see you later." And she said, "Alligator." It's not cattle, but it's still good. Listen, I think Jonah learned because he allowed himself to be revealed in this book. And if he'd have gone further in the book and showed his heart change, he might have gotten to bragging. By leaving us without knowing, he let God have the last word. We know he was wrong in his actions. Don't waste the lessons God teaches. Learn. That's going to be the book of Jonah's last word to us. Learn. He seemed to learn from his time in the fish. He learned to obey God. He didn't learn to love what God loves. And we need to let God teach us what he loves.